Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to start talking today regarding a topic that I love to talk with and present around the world. The topic is basically some tips and best practices to become a successful professional. Basically, are tips and best practices for DBAs. A little bit about myself. My name is Francisco Munoz Alvarez. I'm an Oracle ACE director since the year 2009, Oracle ACE since the year 2008. Having been working with Oracle for a few years, having even been a beta tester of Oracle 7 and one of the first Oracle Certified Master for version 7, and also having been a beta tester to 11G, 12C, and also Oracle VM version 3.1 to version 3.3. I also a spokesperson for Latin America and Asia Pacific for IOC. I was the president of Latin American Oracle User Group. Now I'm not anymore since early last year. I am the president now of the APACO UC, Australian Independent Oracle User Group, Chilean Oracle User Group, and New Zealand Oracle User Group. I also had the honor to receive an Oracle Excellence Award and Oracle Magazine Oracle Evangelist of the Year back in the year 2010. My blog that you can find some of my posts is called oraclenz.com, can be also oraclenz.net, oraclenz.org. My email where you can contact me at any time is francisco.alvarez@redstack.com, and my Twitter handler at FCO Munoz. I'm always publishing and Twitter all the new events that are happening for user groups around the world and free webinar initiatives such the APACO Webinar Tour 2007. I am the Director of Innovation for RedStack, managed and professional service provider globally, and is very well known in the Europe, US, and now in the Asia Pac. In the center, you can see a photo of my recent book that is available since 2013. If not wrong, was the first book for backup and recovery that was published when Oracle 12c came to the market. And it's called Oracle Database 12c Backup and Recovery Survival Guide that I wrote in conjunction with my good friend Aman Sharma in India. In the screen now, you can see my Oracle Excellence Award from 2010 from Oracle Magazine. And a lot of people all the time ask me, Francisco, where are you from? You have a very strange accent. You are president of the Chilean Oracle User Group in one side of the world, New Zealand Oracle User Group in the other side, Independent Australia also the other side of the world. Where are you from? Because nobody can know where I really am from. That's why I came with this map that's easy to show than say. And basically, I born in Chile, but I grew up in Brazil, where I lived from 3 years old until 22. Basically, I had all my primary and college education in Brazil and half of my university. Then I moved back to Chile, when I lived for 3 years, and I got married. Accidents happen, some people says, but I'm happily married. Then I moved to United States, where I lived for 10 years. Then I moved to New Zealand, where I lived for 7 years, and I am living in Australia for the past 3 years. And a lot of people tell me, why Francisco, why you move from one side of the world to the other? It's easy. If you screw up in one side of the world, just move to the other side and you can start over. Now, I'm just joking. And I just moved it by basically trying to follow my career and find the best place to grow my family, especially for my kids. And the only main issue I can say that moving that much can cause to you is you lose a little bit of who you are yourself, and you are affected for many stereotypes. Basically, One example, when I was living in Brazil, doesn't matter I speak Portuguese technically as a normal Brazilian person and a native. Everybody over there knew that I was from Chile and called me the Chilean guy, Zamorano, thanks to a soccer player famous in that time. And they always stereotyped me as that. When I moved back to Chile after living 19 years in Brazil, was no way on earth that the Chilean people would believe that I was Chilean because my strong Portuguese accent. And they automatically stereotyped me as the Garotinho, Pelé, and things like that. When I moved to US, I was thinking that I will get away of our stereotypes, but I was wrong. Anyone that speaks Spanish in the US is automatically called what? The Mexican. And I became the Mexican guy. Hi, Mexican this. Hi, Mexican that. Then when I moved to the other side of the world, to New Zealand, I was thinking, now the stereotypes are over, got even worse. Everybody over there think I was Indian. It's many times I was eating in a restaurant and a couple of Indian approached me and started speaking on Hindi. I need to turn around and say, I'm so sorry, I do not understand. I'm not Indian. And they look at me and say, are you sure? And I would first say, yes, I'm sure I'm not from India. How about your parents? No, they are not Indian. Your grandparents? No, India. They are not Indian. Then I think, somewhere around your mom was Indian. How about the mailman? How about the milkman? Someone was Indian. But that things happens. And now in Australia, I was free of a stereotype for a while until last week I went to a doctor, an Indian doctor, and he started talking to me in Indian and asking me if I was Indian. And looks like everything is starting over again. But that's what you lose a little bit of identity when you move too much about across countries. That's why you'll find that my accent is a little bit weird, but I'm still recovering from some asthma problems. That's why also my voice is not that strong at the moment. But let's get to the point. Let's go straight to the topic that we are going to talk today. And my agenda is basically, first, let's talk about how to improve yourself. Second, talk about my 3 roles. Third, talk a little bit about the evolution of the DBA role since I started work as a DBA. Then talk about some tips and best practices. And finalize with what I call the 3 types of DBAs that, in my opinion, are in the market. And let's see what kind are you. Let's get started. First, learn to improve yourself. Many times when I speak in conferences around the world, I have people approaching me and talk, Francisco, in my opinion, you are a very successful person in the Oracle field. Can you give me some tips on how I can become successful too? And it's very easy, in my opinion. If you want to become a successful professional, first you need to educate yourself to be successful. Your future success depends only on your attitude today, and only you control your life, nobody else. I can give you one example that if you think negative, negative things will happen to you. If you think positive, positive things will happen to you. That's why you have, in my opinion, you have 4 things you need to work to be successful in your career. Number 1 is regarding your attitude. Attitude is very important. Many times I have been interviewing people for other companies, even to my company too, when that I work currently. And the first thing I can tell you is that their proficiency on what they know or their current knowledge in the technology is one thing they will take in consideration. I would say that will take around 30% of what they're looking for. 70% will be regarding attitude. Many times I have hired people that do not have all the knowledge I require, but they have the perfect attitude that I'm looking for. One example. Long time ago, I have a developer on Apex, a position open, and I have been interviewing a lot of people. One of the professionals that show up to the interview was a young guy that was just coming out of university, and he had not much knowledge about Apex, Honestly, he just heard about Apex when he was reading about the position, but he had a lot of experience with PL/SQL, SQL, and other development languages and tools. But his attitude during the interview was what I liked. He told me straight away up front, look, Francisco, honestly, I never heard about Apex until I was preparing myself for this interview. I have been looking the past 3 days what Apex with. I was working, and honestly, that's not something hard to me. I'm very proactive. I love to educate myself too, and I don't see any problem to learn. And if you give me the opportunity, I will become your best developer in your team. I can assure you that. And his attitude was so strong, so clean, that basically I hired him. I gave him the opportunity. And you know what's happened? 6 months later, what he said became true. He became my best Apex developer in the team that I had in the moment. And since then, I started working and taking that chance that 70% is always attitude, 30% is knowledge. Another example without the attitude is I had many companies around the world that I was auditing or working with. And most of the time, something I see in common is when I go to look after or interview the DBA team, I can see 1 or 2 people killing themselves working, and 4 or 5 just playing around, looking at Facebook, talking to each other, and doing things. When I'm approached and take one of the guys there and not concentrate working and take them apart to talk, I ask, why are you not working? Why are you behaving like that group that's not concentrate and is just messing around? He said, oh no, I was killing myself for many years, and I decided to stop killing myself. If the other people is not doing the work, why I need to kill myself? I'm just going to be one of them. And I just turned him around saying, okay, if I'm your boss and I see you working that way, when I have a position or a promotion coming to give to my one person on my team, who do you think I will think first to give to the 2 guys that I know they are killing themselves every day and coming to work with the proper attitude, or giving to you that you are just messing around all the time? And even if you're not looking to improve your career here, you should give the best attitude at the moment and using all your free time available to improve your career, learn new technologies, educate yourself, because probably that will give you a good base to find the next job that will give you that jump that you need. So attitude is very, very important. Okay, another interesting thing I can give you as an example regarding attitude is something on the start of my career. Back in 1989, I was a young man of 16 years old living in Curitiba, Brazil, and I saw advertising in the newspaper offering opportunity to join the technology of the future. And that caught my eye. And basically, when I called, they told me that new technologies arrive in Brazil, and they are offering a free training to select the best people in the training to start working with that technology in the first project they have available. And I was a 16 years old young guy with some training as a programmer, some training as a operator, and I have a few IT trainings already done. When I registered and I arrived to start that training, I saw that most of the people right there was people with a lot of experience, many years experience, especially in COBOL and things like that. We were around 37 people in the room, and that will be a 2 weeks training. 3 weeks training, just to learn SQL, PL/SQL, work with Oracle Forms, Oracle Case, Oracle reports, and so. And the team that were the people, they only have 4 positions available, and the first 4 people in the training will be going to stay in a city close by Curitiba, where I was living. Is around just over 100 kilometers away. But basically, that people will stay in a hotel, live in a hotel for a long period during the time of the project, with everything paid. For a 16 years old, that will be a dream job. Live in a hotel, having eating, and get everything paid as he wish. And especially the city where they are looking for to go was Joinville in Santa Catarina. That was to a city where I lived when I was young for 13 years. I have many friends over there. And also the company that the project was going to happen is for a company called Tubos e Conexões Tigre. And my dad worked in that company, my uncle worked in that company. I have a lot of roots right there. After the training was complete, I was a little bit sad because I got in the 5th place of 37, and I was not selected. Only the first 4 were selected. But due to my idea, since I was younger, how attitude was important, after the selection was made, the people went to start working that project. I asked the people in charge of the company if I could continue going to the office for free and start translating the Oracle documentation and helping and take a few more weeks over there just to learn. They agree with me. Basically, I was working for free for 4 weeks, initially just translating documentation, Oracle documentation. But afterwards, due that in the training, I was one of the best on SQL report. I started helping the team that was in that project a lot, and every time more and more and more. After a month, basically, all that effort and help for free pay off. One of the 4 people that were working the project was forced to abandon that project, and I was ready to go to replace that person. And that was my start working with Oracle Technologies when I was 16 years old in 1989. And basically, that after 28 years, I'm still here working with Oracle Technologies. And in that period, after work on that project, I was able to work in many other projects in Brazil, such as a project in a company called Cetil, help to support the implementation of Oracle do Brasil, work with a Celesc, Ceval, Cetil, and many companies in Brazil. And that was basically the start of my career. And that was only possible thanks to my attitude that I never gave up, and I always try to give it the best I could. I will always say, never stay waiting for the things to happen. Nothing will happen that way. You need to make the things happen. That's the only way you will get successful. And your attitude is the key point for that to happen. Number 2, it's very important to learn to research, because a lot of people is lazy. And a long time ago, I spent long time working and supporting people in forums. And honestly, in my opinion, help others in the forums is one of the best way to learn, because you find someone with an interesting problem, you start looking after, trying to simulate the problem, investigate, burn your brain basically, and when you find the solution and you post it, you feel amazing. You feel that you improve yourself, you learn something new in the process, and you help one or more people at the end. And the gratitude of the people and the experience that you get from that is amazing. And that is a good way to teach you how to properly research. But as I mentioned a few moments ago, a lot of people is lazy. And you're going to see that they use the forums to try to get other people to do their jobs. And basically, they go right there, post the issues they are having, and they don't move. They start working around and do nothing, just waiting someone to answer and do their jobs. A lot of people, they do that, they will find themselves with some of the experts giving them the answer RTFM, read defect manual. That means, and that's what's happening. The people should, before post any questions, they need to do the proper research. Just read the documentation, use the Saint Google, talk with your fellow DBAs and see if any one of them experience the same problem that you have. After you try everything, then you go to the forums and post those issues, and the people will really take you seriously when you post your issue and you post also all the steps and now the research you have done and you could not find your problem. The people will be more than happy to help you. Another point is never be afraid to innovate. The goal, if you do everything the same way that everybody do, you will be not noticeable. You need to try to innovate in your work. You need to try to do things different to the people discover you and notice that you're not the same that everybody. That why they should pay you more, why they should invest in you. As a DBA, one of the good ways to innovate, one example, is if you have backups, you can start implementing restore routines in the calendar and basically use a VM or an old server and just try to restore and recover your production databases. And this way you'll be testing your backups, you will be checking that the tapes are working, you can document your restore and recover procedures, and you can make that rotate in your team, and all the team can know what to do. Doing things like that will help you the next time that your database have issues. The people will not call you because you're only one that knows. Now all the team have the knowledge to do that process if it require, and everybody can give their input to try to improve the restore and recovery process. Another interesting thing if you do that is because as per example, when I talk with DBAs and I approach them, 9 of 10 DBAs, if I approach and ask, okay, how long will it take to fully restore and recover your main production database if you have a major failure today, they will tell me, look, Francisco, I don't know. I never done. They probably can take anything between 3 hours to 3 days. Who knows? But just imagine you put yourself in this position. Your main production database went down. If that situation happens, it's not your boss that will be on top of you, it will be your boss. They will be on top of you because the company is losing money, and this issue is affecting the business continuity. So if you tell your boss, when your boss comes to us, Francisco, I need to tell my boss, how long you think it will take? You nervously, you don't know how long it will take. You said, they will take between 3 to 6 hours. Come back to me in 6 hours. 6 hours pass, and your boss come back again and ask, Francisco, how much longer? Are we there yet? And you said, no, it's not there yet. We are not ready. Please give me another couple hours. Couple hours later, he come back and said, no, give me another couple hours, and keep going that many, many times. Do you think that you will look professional to your boss and to your boss? They will think this guy do not know what he's doing. He don't even know how long it will take. If you do what I was mentioned before and start to innovate, and you are doing the backup and recovery tests, you will know that to fully restore and recover that database will take 8 hours and a half. So when your boss come and ask you next time, you will be able to tell, look, to fully recover and restore and recover this database, I need 8 hours and 30 minutes. But just please give me 10 hours and 30 minutes in case something goes wrong. Sounds a lot more professional and make you look better, and everybody know exactly when to expect the systems to be up and when the business continuity will be restored to the company. It's a lot better just for a small innovation. Another thing is allow communication. A lot of people don't know how to properly communicate with users, especially. I learned that after 20 years being married. As per example, when a user approached most of the DBAs with an issue, I noticed that they start talking to you the problem, and in the middle of the process, you already stop listening to them and you start thinking the solution before properly understand the issue. That means they are talking to you, you're not listening internally, you're thinking about the solution, and when they finish, okay, that's easy, I'm going to solve. And you start notice then you try a solution, didn't work. Try again with other one, didn't work. And you start that try and error solution, a circle. And that's happening all the time because if we didn't listen properly, if the key point of communication is learn to properly listen. If we listen properly, we will easily find the solution. That means don't start thinking the problem before understand the issue first. That's very important. Without these combinations of a proper attitude, do a proper research, don't be afraid to innovate it, and learn to communicate, I can ensure you'll be successful in your career. And the main goal without this is to make you different of everybody else, and this way you'll be noticed and you can be successful. Now, just to give you an example why it's important to do the things I was telling you, I can just tell you some information from Australia. An entry-level DBA in Australia makes around 45K per year. An intermediate level DBA makes around 86. A senior DBA makes around 100K here in Australia. An IT architect around 121K. An IT director over 170K. That means this can become the steps you can grow in your career, and you need to always look up and think where I want to be in the next 5 years, lock that, and work very hard to get from where you are now to the future. Albert Einstein said once, if I had 1 hour to save the world, I will spend 55 minutes defining the problem and only 5 minutes finding the solution. Once again, this shows that if we learn to listen and investigate to understand properly a problem, the solutions come like that. That means you don't need to lose too much time trying to find the solution. You need to lose more of your time trying to understand the problem first. Okay, let's talk about my 3 roles as a DBA that I always have followed my whole career. Number 1, protect your data. Number 2, always try before. Number 3, backup, backup, backup. Let's take a closer look on each one of them. Sorry. Protect your data. The most important rule with respect to data is to never put yourself into an unrecoverable situation. The importance of this guideline I cannot stress enough, but it does not mean that you can never use the time savings or performance enhancement options to improve your environment. But always thinking protect your data. The one that I put, you can see in the top right, the most important rule with respect to data is to never put yourself in a recovery situation is the key point. If you put yourself as a DBA in an unrecovered situation, you're basically placing all your career on risk. Never put yourself in that position. Second one, always try before. When it comes to theory, never believe anything you heard or read until you have tried yourself. That's something that I have followed all my life. Do not believe if Tom Kite posts something, if I post something, or Connor McDonald or anyone posts out solutions that they will fit to you and one solution fits all. If you read something in a book, do not believe 100% until you have tried yourself. Why? Because each environment is different. The environment I have tested, my solution could be different in some variables to yours. The version of operation system can be different. Version of Oracle, parameter configurations. So many things could be different that could affect the result. One example, long time ago, I had an employee, they went to in that time it was a 10G release 2 workshop at Oracle Education. And he learned that if he drop all these database statistics and recreate fresh, the database will run faster. And he tried in the workshop in his small VM. He did it, and amazingly, everything started running faster. And he asked the instructor, "Can I do that on my work, daily work, that will do the same result?" And the instructor said, "Look, if it's working here, should work there." And this guy was one of my main DBAs. They were looking after a major bank. And he had the brilliant idea to basically, when everybody left for lunch, to do not ask for permission and just drop all statistics of the bank objects and then recreate it, to basically wait for the cows come after that asking, "Wow, what you did to the database that's now flying," and get all the merits. But for his surprise, when he dropped all the statistics, that was really fast. But he started to recreate the statistics. They took forever because he forgot that the lunchtime is one of the busiest times for the banks, when everybody is taking that break to go and do things in the banks that they need to do. That's why recreated statistics took him around 6 days and a half. The problem is, 30 minutes after he truncated all the statistics, we start receiving calls and complaints that the performance of the database was terrible, and because the database do not have the statistics. As a consequence, we discovered that he did that without follow a proper change request, without had authorization from the client, and in the end, he got fired. And that's why never believe nothing you hear or read without try by yourself, but please try first in a development and a test environment. Never direct to production, please. And I have been following this since I was a kid. It's happened me to live and grow up in a German community in the south of Brazil called Joinville. And most of the people that lives in that city are from German roots, so they are white with blue eyes. And one day I came back home and I asked my grandma, why everybody have blue eyes and I'm the only one in my class that do not have blue eyes? What can I do to have blue eyes? And she told me, "Look, I heard from my grandma that if you put lemon on your eyes, you will have blue eyes. And because I follow my rule of always try before I'll say something, and in my case, using my own DNA, I can tell you that I tried. And I can tell you that I did not got a beautiful pair of blue eyes. After put lemon, I get a beautiful pair of very clean red eyes." So for me, it didn't work. Maybe for you, it will work. And if you go to St. Google and look after lemon in the eyes to have blue eyes, you will find thousands of people they can promise that it works. So you can try and see if it works for you. Backup. Why? Because bad stuff happens when you less expect. Things can look easy and simple, but they not always easy as they look. So always do a backup before implement any change in your environment, and always do a backup after implement a change to your environment. Why? Because your previous backup before the change allow you to roll back, and your backup after the change allow you to replicate with the change without repeat the change in case you lose your database. All right, now let's go and take a look in the evolution of the Oracle DBA, in my opinion, since I started. When I started long time ago, oh God, I feel old. I was only responsible for 1 or 2 small databases, and most of the work that I was doing that period was at night. Why? Because during the day, the database should be available, and during the night, I was going to shut down my database, do code backups, and also do defragmentations and all the work I need to do over my databases, make a good amount of overtime at night, and make some extra money. Then I started also to be responsible for look after the backups of the databases. Then the profession started evolving and with new technologies such as data warehousing, then new technologies for high availability such as DR with standby databases. I also being responsible and looking after many servers, not the database servers and also application servers, looking after network security and much more. You can see how the profession is getting a little bit more complicated with the years. Then I start working with a team of DBA. I'm not only the only one DBA, and also a team of developers giving support, working with the sysadmin and network administrators too, and sometimes becoming also the sysadmin of the servers in the background. Also, I started learning everything about the applications that are interacting with the database. In my opinion, that's very important because more you know about the interaction of the applications with your database, easier it will be to find a solution when anyone have a problem. When someone comes to the problem that's if the application X, Y, and Z is giving problem when you do this, that, and so on, you know that when they are doing that, they interact with X object, some objects in the background, you know exactly where to go and look. That's why it's so important to know how the applications interact with your database. Then you have some other new technologies such as Real Application Cluster. Then you had some look after some other database like MySQL, SQL Server, DB2, Postgres, you name it. And that's happening because it's not you responsible to buy new applications. One day the company decided to buy a new application. It came with a different database such as, let's see, MySQL. And when you complain to your boss saying, I'm so sorry, I'm an Oracle DBA, not a MySQL DBA. And your boss will turn around and say, I'm sorry, if you go and read your contract, you are a database administrator, not an Oracle database administrator. So MySQL is a database, is your problem now. And now, to make things a little bit more complicated, make some people more scared, we have the cloud that was introduced to our career. And what's worse, most of the Oracle DBAs work 24/7 and they are on call. So when we talk about high availability, it's very important to know about this table that I'm showing to you about what the high availability percentage, like it is 6/9, 5/9, 4/9, represent. If someone comes that their SLAs are to achieve 5/9 of high availability, you need to fully understand that that means that you can only have up to 5 minutes and 26 seconds of downtime per year. That is equivalent to 25.9 seconds per month or 6.05 seconds per week. That means you need to take in consideration that and take the measures to be able to fulfill that level of SLA. Okay, now let's go and talk about some tips and best practices. Once again, do not believe in everything I will tell you from now on until you have tested properly on your dev and test environment first, please. Okay, let's talk first about backup. In the left side, I will talk first about the normal approach, what a DBA will normally respond about this topic. About this topic, backup, normally a DBA will tell me, nothing bad will happen. It's an easy change. I tested it before and nothing happened. My recommendation would be, remember, each environment is different. Even if you did a test first in the development, it worked, in the test environment work, probably it not means they will work without any issues when you deploy in a production environment, because every environment is different. Always do a backup before the change to allow you to roll back to before the change, and always do a backup after the change in case you need to do a rollback, but with the up to after the change. If possible, please encrypt your backups for security. But please, if you are encrypting your backups, do not place your encryption key with the backups. That's like spending a lot of money to put the best alarm system to my car, And every time I leave my car, I turn on the alarm and leave the alarm key on top of my car. That's exactly the same. Always keep your encryption keys separate from your backup, please. Why? Because they reduce risks, allow an easy rollback if necessary, and most important, could save your job. If anyone have any question up to this time, please feel free to post it in the chat window, and I will be answering all questions in the end of the webinar. Okay, my next topic is have a good backup strategy. The normal approach and what the DBAs tell me most of the times regarding this is, I have a full backup daily, that's enough. I will tell you, first and now, go and check your SLAs. To have a good backup strategy, you need to properly know your RTOs and the RPOs. You need to know the recovery point objective and recovery time objective. That means you need to know exactly how much data can your company afford to lose and how much time can your company afford to the database be unavailable. Having this sorted, then you can implement a proper backup strategy. One example, you can back up your archive logs to tape several times a day. You can also generate a daily data pump for logical recovery, just in case. And one example, if your SLA says you cannot I can only lose up to 3 hours per day of data, I will do backups of my archive logs to tape and to a different location in the network every 3 hours just to fulfill the requirement. Also, as I mentioned right here, we have a daily data pump just in case, because that can help in many different ways that you cannot imagine. We will take a better look on this a little bit later in a couple more slides. Why you should do that? Because they help you to reduce risks. Will have your users happy when you ask you to recover a table for last week. Always be proactive and always use the what-if methodology. And, you're saying, they will help you to recover a table for last week, but I have flashback to do that. Okay. You have flashback, but how often you can have enough storage available to flash back to a week ago? Most of the companies, when I start to audit the database, they have a flashback that allow them probably to go back a couple of days, no more than that. That's why I recommend to have a daily data pump for logical recovery, and I'll give you a few more benefits of doing that in just a moment. One example regarding having the proper backup strategy is what's happening with the Sidekick problem a few years back. Basically, this was an issue with T-Mobile in the United States and Microsoft. They developed this smartphone called Sidekick. There was the first, a cell phone to use cloud computing. The beauty about this is basically they synchronize all the information to the cloud, and the true version of your data, it was in the cloud. That means if you lose your phone, you just get a new one, synchronized with your cloud account, and you get all your contact messages, photos, music, everything back to the phone. In that time, you were seeing a lot of famous people using this phone all across all the reality shows with the Kardashians and so on. The main issue that happened right here is that Microsoft decided that they do not need a proper backup strategy, and they decide just to trust on RAID. And one day they decide to do a firmware upgrade on their data center that was looking after the Sidekick and T-Mobile. And to have the minimal downtime possible, they decide to do the firmware upgrade in parallel of our servers at once. Everybody knows that when you do a firmware upgrade, the only rule is you cannot lose power. If you lose power in the middle of the upgrade, you don't have a server, you have a brick. And that's what's happened. In the middle of the upgrade, they lost power. No problem, we have the backup power, and that will kick off. It did not work. Oh, no worries, we have a secondary power that will kick off in case the first one fell. It also fell. As a consequence, they lost permanently information. They affected more than 800,000 Sidekick customers around the United States, and they started afterwards a big campaign basically telling everyone, if you are a Sidekick user, please do not turn on your phone, because you have your phone full of data, and when it's going to sync with the cloud is the true source of the data. Cloud empty, that means cell phone will become empty, and you're going to lose all your data. And they start basically telling everyone by radio, TV, and newspapers to please do not turn on your phone if you are a Sidekick user. And that was a nightmare. And it was very well covered around the media. And for sure, you were not going to have your brand associated with the image, such as the one you've seen in front of you of a train accident. And that's, you can see something that happened because did not have a proper backup. That means if this happened to a huge company such as Microsoft, what could happen to us if we do not implement a proper backup and recovery strategy? So think about that. Have separate environments. Most people about this topic tell me, Francisco, yes, we have a dev, test, and prod, but they are all in the same server because everyone knows what each one is doing, and we need to save money to the company. We don't have license to use the different servers. In this case of situations, I'll only tell you, please have at least one server for each environment. If you cannot afford by license-wise or server costs, think about virtualizations. Think about Oracle VM, one example. Also, developers should only have full access to development, never to test, never to production. Transform test and prod in high security areas. Why? Why I will block developers for test and dev? Because one of the key points for the DBAs is to be responsible for availability, recoverability, and performance of the environment. How you can be responsible for availability and performance if anyone can do changes that could affect the availability and performance? That's why we will block and do not allow no one to do anything that could affect that. You will protect your environment. Developers can do what they want on dev, and then you need to work with you, and only you can do the deployments of the DBA team, can do the deployments for dev to test, and after all tests are done, do the deployment for test to production. Why I'm thinking to use a different service for each environment or even virtualization? Just think about that. I'm human. If I have dev test in prod, that happened to me in the past. I was 100% sure I was connected to dev, and I did a shutdown, and default my phone started ringing, and automatically I think, oops, what I did now? And when I was checking, my Oracle environmental was set to production, not to development, and as a consequence, I just took the production database down. Another example is if you have dev or test together with production, dev and test are to be used for testings, right? That means any developer there throwing a query, if their query is not tuned enough, they will be using tons of resources such as CPU and memory. If they are using the same server than production, what do you think? They will think they will not affect the memory and CPU available to your production environment? Of course. That's why it's very important to be at that separation. Why? Reduce risks, allow you to be really responsible for the environments, protect system performance and availability, and what's most important, protect business continuity. As a consequence of my previous tip, it's very important to have a change register in place. Regarding this, many people tell me, oh, this is a small change. No one will notice. It will not affect no one. It's better say sorry than ask for authorization. So regarding that, I will recommend create your own promotion procedures. Always create a change request. Always try to involve all affected user on the change. Always only promote changes after obtaining our approvals. That's called shared responsibility. Having a proper change register and follow a change process will basically normally have the change you want to apply, which system applications be involved, consequently, what users will be involved, who is responsible by the user side for approvals, what is the rollback plan in case something goes bad, contact information for users they will be testing, and documentation step-by-step of the change that we apply and who will be applying and when will be applied. That means that allow to everyone responsible, the people that are looking after the approval will be able to properly test, check, other people will be able to review what you're trying to do and come with comments and suggestions. 2-3 heads thinks better than one. And if after a change was approved, you promote it to production and something goes wrong, you know that it was not your fault, was basically because the users did not properly test it. That means you're sharing responsibility, and now you know why that happened, and you know exactly what to do. Another benefit of this, if a user call you by changing one day to the other of performance issues, and they come, oh, database was working perfectly for weeks, and since the last few hours, it's starting to go, the performance starts to go terrible. The first thing I will do is go to my change register and see what were the changes that have been promoted in the past few hours to know what probably could be affecting. That helped me to find the root cause a lot faster. That's why having a change register, we allow you to document and review the process. We allow others to review your process too. We'll contain our approvals and tests for your safety and mental health. And in case a system is affected, it will be easy to detect what changed. That comes to my next topic, that's saying, what's an incident? For me, an incident is always when something affects business continuity or the business revenue. That means something is very important. They need to act fast. That's why incident is always a priority. Normal approach, many DBAs tell me, we'll do it early in the morning, went back to the office. Oh, it can wait a few minutes more, and I'm on break right now, or it's lunchtime. We'll take a look when I get back. I will recommend incident is always a priority. Investigate and solve it as soon as possible. After solve, create an incident report and to document your findings. It will help you to, number one, detect the root cause of the problem and document it. Document how it can be prevented to happen again. And also document our steps to solve the problem in case anyone need it. That means if someone have the same issue in the future, they can go through the incidents reports, detect that the issue already happened, and follow the steps you use to solve the issues to solve it straight away, reducing the time of the incident, consequently helping the company to don't lose too much money because the downtime is not that big. Also, it helps you to know that if an issue start happening too often, your root cause was probably not the correct one, and you should go and reinvestigate on your team to find the proper root cause. One example about the incident is always a priority. I have an incident in the past too. One of the DBAs had a call during Sunday around 2 a.m. saying that also from a financial institution, alert and the archive log area was full. He decided he was too sleepy and the incident could wait. That means, oh, you know what? I will wake up a little bit early. The bank only opens at 9 a.m. I will wake up around 6, get in the office around 8, and I will fix the problem before the banks open at 9. And he did that. The main issue is at 9 o'clock when the bank opens, the calls are starting to happen. And what this guy missed is that because the archive log area was full, your database was frozen. Nothing was happening. During 2 a.m. and 9 a.m. before the banks open, a lot of jobs are triggered to do process data and load temporary tables to reports for the bank to work during the day. None of that happened because database was frozen, the archive area was full, and consequently, this guy almost lost his job. That's why incident is always a priority. You cannot leave for later. You need to solve it straight away. Another topic is regarding avoid deadlocks. Normal approach, the people, DBAs will tell me deadlocks are developers' fault. Developers will tell me deadlocks are the DBA fault. And I will say, before make any fuss and start having issues between each other, please, as the DBA, go and create index to all foreign keys. You have scripts about that on my blog, and you have thousands of scripts to do this everywhere in the internet. Because creating index foreign keys reduce the possibility and time for locks. And also check if you have any bitmap index on your OLTP environment. Bitmap index are very good for data warehouse environments for selects, but terrible for insert, update, and deletes, and that can consequently create a lot of locks in your database. After you check these two things, I can guarantee that you're going to stop having issues of deadlocks in your environment, and that will improve your database performance and will help you to have a good relationship with developers. In the forums, I basically gave this recommendation from hundreds of people that was having deadlock issues, and no one came back saying that did not solve their issues. Automatic process, many DBAs tell me, I can do it by myself. I love to be involved in everything. I love to create a user, extend table space, change the passwords. I love to run a manually checklist every day. I will say, if a process or work can be made automatic, do it. If it can't, please delegate it. If you are a member of a DBA team, you have junior DBAs, make all the BAU work that cannot be made automatic be delegated to the junior DBAs. Why? Because you have more important things to do. If you concentrate and use all your time doing BAU, the issues you have in your database were basically your fault because you're not having time to look in the issues before it become an issue. You should be using your time investigating new technologies, learning about the new version of Oracle they come out that you're thinking to upgrade your environments, thinking about implementation of DataGuard and other technologies that you can use. Use your time better. You have more important stuff to do it. And sorry, I have that double. Database initialization parameters. Many people tell me about this. I will change it then only when required. I will say, be proactive, set the parameters when possible, because every time it's getting harder and harder to have downtime windows to be able to reset your database to take the non-dynamic parameters. So if you cannot, they cannot modify them dynamically, and you know that probably you will need in the future, think to change them in your next window, because you don't know when you will be possible to do that again. Remember also to set _Tracy, _files, _public equal true, because sooner or later you will need to give access to some trace files to the developers. Why this is important? Because we avoid inconvenient restart of the database. We'll save you time and headaches, and be proactive. Always will improve your database performance and availability. My key or my things is always being never put yourself in a recovery situation. Always do a backup before and after any changes. Always be proactive, and always work with the what if methodology. What if this happened? What if that happened? That's very important. .log extension. A lot of people tell me about that. Oh, I always use .log for my read log files because this is a standard. That's the way the database creates the files automatically. I will tell you, please use a different extension for read log files like .rdo or something different. Why? Because accidents happen. One example, if you have sysadmins looking after your storage and they start to receiving alerts that they're getting out of space, what do you think will be the first thing they were looking to delete to clear space? Logs. And you can be in a serious problem. I have seen many DBAs that by accident have deleted read logs because they just create a routine to delete .logs to open a space, clear space, and it happens. We are human. That means to avoid this kind of incident, please do not use .logs. Replace your red log files extension for .rdo or something similar. Metadata repository, normal approach. I have all I need on my current database. I use my dev tests as a DDL repository. I will tell, create your own metadata repository, use the data pump for this. And that's when I come that I told you before about run logical backups using data pump before. That would be interesting. This is the point. If you create a data pump export every day, you can use that to create a SQL file with the metadata or to recreate all your database as a .SQL. And why this is important? Number one, you know how is the structure of your database if you need to recreate anything. Help you also with that dump to recreate, restore a table, how it was a couple weeks back if a user requests to you. And another more important thing that I found crucial is if I have a user call me because they are having performance issues that since today that was not happening before, the first thing, as I mentioned before, I'm going to look after my change request that happened in the past 24 hours. And most of the time you will find that nothing changed. Then I will talk with developers and ask them if they did any change towards production, because they always find the way to do things without you notice. And they will say, no one have access, nobody can touch it, production. Okay, if that's the case, I can create a SQL file for my DMP of 3 days ago, generate a new data pump export now, create the .SQL for today, and do a diff between today and 3 days ago, and voila, you can find exactly what changed in the metadata of your database. Oh, incredible, I have this new index. Oh, that index changed. Oh, this package changed, and you cut that thanks to this. And non-alpha layout, normal DBAs will tell me, oh, let's OracleMania all using alpha the way I will be standard on our environments. I don't like to do that. I will look to follow my own layout. One example for the binaries of the Oracle, I will have /Oracle/prod if it's production, QA if it's QA, test if it's test, dev is dev, /the SCID, and I have all there. Then I have another mount point, for example, U01/udump for users. I can use that /SID2 to do separations. The production, the data will have /prod data, /test data, /dev data, and /SID. The same, I will have another mount point for backups, for prod backups, and the SID and so on. For the logs, the same. And consequently, I have differentiators to each one. This way, I will use the different mount points, and I'll have it clearly documented that will avoid anyone to do mistakes, because they know exactly what they are looking and what's content on each directory. This will help you to manage and keep everything organized. Allow also to use different mount points. They will help with performance and also will reduce risk. Oh, why will help me to get performance? Oh, one example. If I have all the stuff from my house and I put in a big container and I get me, my wife, and my 4 kids, each one to grab something that they need inside, they will need to wait me to get inside, they start moving the things around, grab what they need, go out to the next going there sequentially, causing contention. If I had multiple containers, each one with different rooms, I would just go to my room to grab something. My son go to his container. They have his things from his room, grab what he needs, and so on. Reducing contention is basically something similar we can achieve with this. Next, study. Why? A lot of people tell me I know everything I need. And I will say, read manuals, read the official documentation, read in practice Oracle by example and OTN website. That's basically you have a lot of tutorials showing you step by step how to do things. That's very useful. As I mentioned before, help others in OTN forums. This is a fantastic way to learn by helping others. Participate in Oracle user group activities. If it's possible, try to speak on their events or even in initiatives such as the webinar tour that will be happening every year. Why? Because they keep you up to date. You never know when you need to use it. will help your professional development. Today you're helping others, and later others will help you. In my opinion, knowledge is all important if shared. That means nobody knows everything, and keep yourself learning constantly. Listen, ask questions, be involved. A lot of people tell me I will just do something when asked to do. If it's working, I don't need to care. As I mentioned in the start, attitude is very important to the success of our career. Do not just sit back waiting for the creative tables request to show up. Use your time. Learn about the system. Learn about the users, because know what to do before it is requested or necessary. Allow you to know who to contact in case of. Show how engaged you are with the company. This will help you to develop as a professional. Finally, this is another situation that people is asking me a lot. The next generation, be prepared. Francisco, would I lose my job as a DBA with the cloud? That is a huge question I had all the time. And I will say, no. You will not lose your job, because if you take a look, you can see, if you saw the movie Hidden Figures, you will notice that NASA in the 60s, they were using human computers before the mainframes come on board. And they are also like DBAs now, were afraid they were losing your job to the servers, because the human computers will not be required anymore. But they learned that if you learn some new skills, such as Fortran on that moment, they will need to keep them, and they will still be used in the next generation of technology. And that's what's happening. They learn about Fortran, and they now are the ones that operate the IBM mainframes, and they got their jobs, a peace of mind, and they keep evolving with the IT. And that's the same right now. You will not lose your job or your career because the cloud implementation. Cloud basically having multiple different acronyms and things that have in the background. If it's infrastructure as a services that are using the cloud, there will be no changes to you. It will be exactly the same you have right now. But instead to use your physical service on premises, they're using virtual servers with unlimited resources in the background. That means you will still, as a DBA, be required to install the Oracle, manage it, monitor, and do everything as you do today. If you go to a platform as a service situation, then basically the cloud provider will look after the BAU things, such as patching and backups. That's exactly what I'm telling you in one of my tips. Do not lose your time doing BAU things. Automate the things or delegate. That will be exactly the same. You're delegating that to the cloud to look after that because you have more important things to do. Now you will have time to do things that you really need to concentrate, and learning a few more skills, you can do a lot more things for your company and your career. You'll be, in my opinion, the DBA profession as a database administrator is mutating to become a database architect. Then you need to learn that skills to be prepared to the next generation that's coming, but you should not be afraid of. Finally, I will show you a video that inspired my career, and I will just talk a couple of things after this.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
This video talks exactly about everything I spoke in the start of my session. Don't be afraid of think different. Don't be afraid of innovate. Every person on this video becomes successful and famous thanks they were not afraid to innovate. They had a proper attitude to show. They knew how to do research and they knew how to communicate. That means with these key points, if these people was able to be successful, I can guarantee you can become successful too. Finally, to finish my presentation, I will just talk very briefly about the three kinds of DBAs that, in my opinion, exist today. The first type of DBA is the firefighter. The firefighters love the adrenaline, love to do working in a fire, move to another fire, and keep constantly on that adrenaline on their body. They love when they have a call saying that the database is down and they kill themselves overnight trying to restore and recover the database and bring the business continuity back. And after a lot of try and error and fight and nervous sweat, they bring everything back, and they love the people come and hug them and call them heroes because they were able to restore the database and recover the data. They love that life, that adrenaline. The problem with that is this kind of DBAs are constantly only working solving problems, and they do not have time to be proactive and solve the problems before be a problem. And they are basically causing the issues they are living all the time themselves. In the firefighting environment, you will have teams of DBAs that do not want to be on call because they know they will not have life, and they will be having alerts all the time. And that's the main issue. They are causing the problems themselves. That's when I came to the second kind of DBA that they know how to be proactive. Being proactive, they start discovering issues before being an issue. Instead to place the alert to tell me when the archive log area is full, they start to set up alerts to tell them when the archive log area is 30% full, then 15% full, and then 5% full. This way, if they get the alert that's 30% full on a Saturday night, and they don't get all the alert, they know they can wait until they get back on Monday, they can be solved. If they get it 30% on Saturday night, and a couple of hours later they get the alert of 15%, and a couple of hours later 5%, they know they need to act straight away before the database be in trouble, because know that something is happening and need to act fast. They will go after the environment doing the health checks before go away on Friday to ensure they will not have extra calls of by issues that can be detected during the weekend. They always be proactive, and we always work with the what-if methodology. This is a fantastic way to work, but they have one pitfall, that if you're too good on that, your database will have no issues, and basically nothing wrong will happen on your environment. And what's wrong with that, with the picture? Oh yes, if number one, your boss can think that they don't need you anymore because nothing happened in the environment, they can go to a third-party company and use them and save some money. That's what I came with the third level of DBA that's called the balance. The balanced DBA takes the beauty of both sides. Because if you take a look, if the proactive do very well their job, they will basically, when they have serious issues in the environment, they will not remember what they need to do to solve the issue, because the issues have not happened for so long. That's why the balance have the best of two worlds. They will work, will do everything the proactive do, and we will ensure that to detect problems before be a problem. They will also generate monthly reports telling what issues were detected, what problems was solved before be a problem, and what types of business continuity incident was avoided to happen by them. That way your boss knows exactly what you are doing and the value of your profession. Also, because now you have more free time, because the things are not happening, you have no more issues, alerts all the time, use their free time to do proactive things. As I mentioned in the start of my session, you could basically start practicing restore and recovery incidents, start practicing and training for learn of the new version of Oracle that's coming, you learning about new technologies, about REC, and things like that. you can use better your time. And also, you can practice in parallel some firefighting skills to be up to date in case something goes wrong. That means the balance is a mix between the firefighter knowledge of a firefighter and the efficiency of a proactive DBA. Saying that, basically, I wanted to think, what kind of DBA are you? And also, now is your time to take control of your database and also take control of your career. Saying that, anyone have any question? If you have any question, please feel free to post in the chat, and I will be more than happy to respond. If not, please feel free to check my blog or follow me on Twitter to be aware of all that's happening in the Oracle user group community around the world, about the webinar tours, the OTN tours. And if you have any question, I can help you about anything. Please also feel free to contact me by Twitter, LinkedIn, my blog, or also my email directly. I'm just waiting a few more seconds to see if anyone have any question. Okay, looks like no one had any question. In that case, I hope you have enjoyed my presentation. Once again, sorry about my voice, that I'm still suffering a little bit of my asthma, and I'm always here to try to help and share a little bit of my knowledge and try to help everyone. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and we are going to be seeing each other very soon for my next session in a couple, I think so is around 10 days from now. That's basically my tips and best practice for DBAs on RDS, where I will teaching how to administrate and how different is to manage the databases in the AWS RDS cloud. Thank you so much, and until next time.